the doctrine of executive responsibility. Here, now notes we have just been given as 2-2 this part here. 2-2. The doctrine would have been doctrine of executive responsibility, and you have two types. We have the collective responsibility and the managerial responsibility. Under this doctrine of executive responsibility, we look at who is responsible when and why is what that it covers. Who is responsible when, what did they do, why did they do that? And we shall start with the the collective responsibility. It's established under Article 117 of the Constitution, and it provides that for collective responsibility, it provides for collective responsibility of the cabinet. Let me give you like how it's stated in particular. Article 117, responsibility of ministers. Ministers shall individually be accountable to the president for administration of their ministries and collectively be responsible for any decisions made by the cabinet. What does this mean? For collective responsibility, if a government makes a decision, let me say NRM as the current cabinet running the country makes a decision that we are going to only focus on agriculture. We are not going to focus on the technologies that are coming around AI and everything. We're only going to focus on agriculture. In case it's a mistake and they are criticizing government, all ministers in the current government have to defend the current government, have to defend and be responsible for that mistake. In case it's in a scenario where government is doing something good and they are having a lot of achievements, they will still celebrate, even if it's only one ministry that is succeeding. In this case, all ministers shall celebrate that achievement. This is under the collective responsibility. This principle in itself means that it calls for cabinet solidarity. So whereby if government decides something, you have to make, and it has been made collective by cabinet, then each cabinet member cannot disagree, cannot argue. But you can argue before it's being passed. Let me say you're debating about it, you can argue. But the moment it has been made an agreement, it has been passed as cabinet, as the decision of cabinet by the majority, mostly it's under voting. When they vote and majority passes it, then no one should at any one moment do what? Be against that decision. So you have to be responsible. They have to defend government. In that case, let me say government, just like Amin's regime where his cabinet decided to chase away all the foreigners, everyone in the cabinet had to defend him. Even if it was maybe something bad, everyone had to defend him in that same case. And if somebody wishes to disagree publicly, if you wish to disagree publicly as a minister, and you're like, what government doesn't do, I don't believe in what government is doing, then you have to just resign. Because remember, we have the Constitution calls for this collective responsibility. So if you're not, you're disagreeing, then you're going against the Constitution. So you have to just resign, leave that position, then you disagree as any other citizen would. So likewise, if Parliament passes a vote of no confidence in government or cabinet on that particular issue, then government will have to resign. This is something that is like so rare it has never happened in Uganda, where Parliament can fully disagree with what government has said. For example, His Excellency, let me say he gives a directive and his cabinet is in support, and then Parliament, when now all ministers, all MPs come together and vote, a vote of no confidence is still given the Constitution under the vote of caucus. Under here, Article 118. Here is where the Parliament can vote. Let me say it can vote against a minister. It can vote against let me say the government. In this case, in the case of it's under subsection 1, under section 1, subsection A. where they give different segments of when Parliament can vote against government or a minister. But voting against the minister is under ministerial responsibility. Under collective, they vote against the whole government because remember, this decision is being backed by the whole government. So let's go to the ministerial or individual responsibility. Under ministerial responsibility, here it's a conversion. It hasn't been written anywhere because the Constitution only gives provides only for the collective. So this one is a conversion, like it's happening, but that hasn't been written anywhere. But it's a non-written conversion that is expected by Parliament, by the public, by the President. It's expected of these ministers. You're expected to be responsible of everything you do, but it's not written that you have to be responsible. So this conversion states that the minister shall be held accountable to Parliament for their personal conduct, management of their duties. Coming back to this PDF, the responsibility of any. Okay, I'm not reading everything from the PDF. I'm trying to explain as I read. The responsibility for any business of government may be assigned to any minister by the Prime Minister, whereby, in such a case, administration of that department or that ministry, there will be individual responsibility. Remember, you've been given this department or this, project by the Prime Minister. So everything you decide will be accounted to you personally. You'll be responsible for all decisions you make. So the minister must explain to Parliament and his own actions and decisions carried out on behalf and by himself and on their behalf. Remember, we have that agency where you can delegate. If your delegate makes mistakes, you answer as a minister. Then for the how does this ministerial responsibility, how is it enforced? The PDF just ends here, but let me explain how it happens to be enforced. In a case where a minister has been summoned, if, for example, the Minister of Internal Affairs was summoned lately here, Internal Affairs was summoned to explain corruption during the national ID registration things. Remember, very many people are complaining about Rwandese having Ugandan identifications. Parliament summoned him and he had to explain. In 2019, the Minister of Health was still questioned over poor health in most people, especially in Malawi, was questioned. Then recently you saw Honorable Nabanja was also summoned in Parliament to explain different things about that Karamoja stuff, the Mabati things. So those are the examples of ministerial where Parliament summons you, explain. In case you everything is up and down, there's out of corruption and fraud, then they can take on the motion, the caucus of motion in Parliament, where they debate either to vote on the conduct of the behavior of a specific minister, where they vote you out of Parliament or out of cabinet, or they leave you. So in case, Parliament can force you to resign through that vote. If the majority say you have to go under this same article here, this vote of caucus, then under misconduct or misuse of power, then you can be arrested or you can be forced to resign. That's the explanation of the quick explanation of collective responsibility and ministerial responsibility. Thank you so much.